Hello and welcome to today's Vlogmas video. So I'm just kind of mixing up some inks on my palette here for who we're drawing today. Well, this is Ricky B. Rat's mama. This is Mama Rat, Margaret Rateriff, and she is heading out the door for a date, or pardon me, did I say date? She's just going to bingo with her friend Ambrose. They're just bingo friends, no matter what you may have heard. Margaret insists that you heard wrong. But that's not the rumor on the word on the street. But anyways, so Ambrose and Margaret have been a thing ever since Ricky's Papa Rat left for Florida some years back. And Margaret's a little bit, she doesn't like anybody noticing that there's clearly more than just a friendship with Ambrose. So that's her story, and she's sticking to it, that she and Ambrose are just bingo buddies and nothing else, and if you think otherwise, you have a filthy, filthy mind. And I'm already having issues with the nib. So I guess we're going to be coloring some of this stuff with the brush. And because I got no patience, basically. Anyways. Same brush I've been using. So she's got her Santa hat on here. And anyways, she is, I don't know, sometimes this stuff kind of shows up in the early stages, but it's not super clear until I come through and actually inks. So with that in mind, I will just tell you what it says, so you don't have to wait till the second half of the video. But I say Ambrose. Margaret, Mama Rat, is yelling, "Richard! I'm going to bingo with Ambrose. Have all the Christmas lights up by the time I get back. And make sure there's mistletoe by the front door." Because obviously she wants Ambrose to kiss her. But wait a minute, that can't be, because they're just bingo buddies, right? Anyways. So a little bit of a disconnect between expectation and reality there, right? So I think in the background I'm going to kind of do it a little bit banded. Not too different from what I did with Ricky, or not Ricky, with Miles. Only Miles, it was kind of angry flames, whereas, here it's kind of more, that whole idea of almost like rays of color or whatever. Not really solar rays because they are blue, but common kind of background technique for comics. One that is probably a little easier if you're doing this in layers on digitally, but I've got another shade of blue that I will be using. I'll just hold up my palette. So, fairly muted color. This is a mixture. Well, you can probably see. So is the orange. And the orange is getting some cream in there. What is the brown? The brown is Transparent Raw Sepia by Liquitex, mixed with just the white ink from Dollar Rowney, in order to get a kind of a beigey color. So what else can we say about Margaret? Well, obviously, she and Papa Rat don't get along. It's just kind of why she lives in Ratsville and Papa Rat decided to move to Florida. Margaret is a huge... Let me just pull that down a little bit. Margaret is into knitting. At least she's into winning ribbons for her knitting at the local fair. That was the subject of one episode of the Ricky B. Rat podcast, where Margaret insisted Ricky help her win the People's Choice Award via ballot stuffing. Because sometimes the people would make the wrong choice, I guess, is where she's going with that. So she wanted Ricky to ensure that the people made the right choice, even though it was her choice. So there's that episode. She does do a fair amount of babysitting of Marvin's nieces and nephew. But I think she does actually have a job, but I haven't actually thought too much about what her job is. She does watch the nephew and niece quite a bit. Now, you'll see when I color her in. I do give her gray hair, but Ricky's only 23 and Becky's slightly older. So, unless she started real late, Margaret's not actually all that old, because her kids are in their 20s. But, some people go gray early, including some rat people, I guess. When I was in my if I say late teens, that sounds bad. I was like 18, 19. So I was a grown-ass woman. Although nowadays, I guess some people think that you're not a grown-ass woman until you're like 40. But that's because our society is very messed up. But anyways, I was like 18, 19. I went on a few dates with a guy who was older than me. He was 30, early 30s. Yeah, that's right. People will freak out about that too, but why would an 18-year-old me date a boy my own age? Because he was just going to live at home and complain about living with his parents. And that was my job, live at home, complain about your parents, and have no money. So anyways, I was dating this guy who was like 30 something, and he actually was completely gray hair. Now, he had no wrinkles. He wasn't lying about his age. He was like 32 or something. But he had gone gray in like 10th grade. Like he had gray hair before he graduated high school, which is kind of hilarious. So that does happen, and that's going to be Margaret's... it's going to be the story with Margaret, because, it would be rude to ask Margaret how old she is. She would yell at you and tell you to respect your elders, but also not be willing to specify how much of an elder she is. But we can estimate that she would be anywhere between, 45 and 50, something like that. But she does have gray hair. She is a grandma. It's funny. Years ago, I have a cousin who had her kids fairly young. And we were, I think it was the youngest kid's like 10th birthday party or something like that. And, yeah, that sounds about right, because I think I was in my late 20s, and my cousin is like 6 years older than me, so she would have been in her mid-30s, maybe late 30s, and I was in my early 30s, something like that. Anyways, it was the youngest son's birthday party, and of course she had various friends of her own over there as well as his friends and whatnot. But one of her friends, it was kind of interesting, this lady made the comment, she was, I think she said she was 38, and her youngest, she had her kids very early, or relatively early. She married young, had her kids young. So she was laughing because at 38, her youngest had just graduated from high school. So yeah, she must have had one, I think she had one kid when she was like 18 and the other when she was 20, something like that. So she had the two kids, and the youngest had just graduated high school. And she was joking that for her it was great because she was done with the child rearing, but all her friends who sorry, don't belong there, mistaking where the puffy part of the hat begins and where Margaret's hair begins. Anyways, this lady was saying it was hilarious to her because all her friends her same age were chasing toddlers around. And she wasn't chasing nobody around no more because her kid's old enough to drive, going off to college. She said, "I'm still young. I can have fun. I got energy." You know, all her friends are going to be, we're chasing after toddlers, and we're talking about, you know, by the earliest time that they could start having me time again, they're going to be, you know, like staring down 50 and all this. And she was like, "No, I did it the smart way." And frankly, I think she was very right. I think that is entirely the smart way to do things, if you can swing it, is have your kids early, ship them off, and then you can go have fun before your hip starts to hurt too much, you know what I mean? I was kind of patting that so I get some texture of the hat. Yeah, I'll deal with this when I do the line work. So we got Margaret's gray hair there. Anyways, that's definitely not the path I took. I think I've said before, I don't have kids. So, and it ain't happening now. But I know so many people where it's like they're in their 30s praying they find a husband and can manage to have some kids before the change of life happens. So anyways, that's kind of a neither here nor there sort of thing. But we're going to just assume that Margaret here did things the smart way. And therefore just went gray prematurely. So there we have it. You know, in a way, in order to get a darker tone at the top of her ears that would be shaded, I should probably turn this upside down, but yeah, I think what I'm just going to do instead is bring out the paper towel and do a little bit of dabbing. And I've said before, the tails should actually be more peach than pink, but we're leaving it as pink for the purposes of this. So, now the orange is for Margaret's scarf. You know, the Rat people love their cheese and cheddar colors. And for this, I just comboed the Liquitex fluorescent orange and the Higgins orange, which is kind of more of a brownish orange. So it kind of tones down some of the fluorescent type of stuff. while brightening up the other, so it's kind of a nice happy medium. A nice cheddar color, which of course is not the color cheddar naturally is. I'm pretty sure they put dye in it. But be that as it may, and now, I think I'm going to try to not have to dab her coat. So this is kind of a similar color to Agnes's hair yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was. They're starting to blend together. I'm actually it's just writing the next Ricky podcast episode, which I should have up probably midweek. I certainly won't get it recorded today. Hopefully get recorded today, but probably not edited until Tuesday. So that will be Margaret having to take her grandbaby Marvin to the doctor for an owie ear infection, and then Ricky ends up having to take leave work at the recording studio early in order to go and take his two nieces to their ballet class, which would normally be Margaret's thing, at least on her days off. I should figure out what is Margaret's actual day job, because she's not retired yet. I suppose she has alimony from Papa Rat. So there's that, but what does she seem like she would want to do for a living? Or not necessarily want to do, but what would she do for a living? I haven't randomly discovering things I haven't actually thought about very much for the comic, because Mama Rat's job hasn't really been relevant yet, other than sort of a vague awareness that she must have one. I'm gonna have to think about that. What would she be doing? She doesn't seem like she'd really be working in a store. Some sort of office lady kind of gig, I guess. I think I'm going to make her top red as well. Suppose she could work in a bank of some sort. Well, we are done with the color portion of the image, so I guess while I go and clean out my palette before all this acrylic ink dries and hardens on it, I guess I can be contemplating the mystery of Margaret's career choices, and then when I come back and do the outlines, maybe I'll have an answer by then. Or maybe we'll just keep guessing. And actually, before I do anything, I just realized I forgot to do her earrings. So let's give her little gold ball earrings here. There. Alright, so gonna go wash off the palette and contemplate Margaret's career choices. Alright. As I was cleaning out, I did come to a decision. Something about Margaret just says works in a bank to me. And I wouldn't claim to be an expert, having never worked in a bank myself, but I had 3 different aunts who worked for banks. One was a teller. Well, they all started as tellers. One eventually got into working with foreign exchange before she took early retirement. One was always a teller, kind of working part-time. Her husband was actually higher up in the management, banking management sort of thing, and another one ended up becoming a loan officer, loan approval, that sort of thing. So, and I have a friend who worked as a teller for years and all that. So that sounds like something where if I needed, for whatever reason, I needed more information for a Ricky plot, where I could ask, either one of my aunts or my friend who worked as a teller and sort of get more details. So, and, tellering is also the sort of thing, back in the day, it was a popular job for married women because they could do it part-time, and I mean, I guess they still have part-time tellers. Obviously, it's a different situation now. I think even to become a teller, you have to have a bachelor degree now. Even if it has nothing to do with commerce, but some sort of a bachelor degree and all that. So what would Margaret's degree be in? Well, we're just going to say she might have gotten in before that was a requirement. She certainly, who knows. I don't think she has an MBA or anything like that. Might have some sort of a literature degree or something like that. But, yeah, so that's my decision. We're going to stick with it. And then, of course, she gets alimony from Papa Rat out in Florida. Papa Rat works for cruise ship companies doing, I'm not entirely certain what, something to do with booking entertainment, I guess, or probably at this point some sort of a managerial position on the cruise ships. But of course, aside from the whole how to she earn a living thing, her primary occupation is, of course, nagging the kids. Nagging Ricky to do chores for her. And going and playing bingo with Ambrose. I'm just looking, going, I goobered on the ink quite a bit in her coat, but I guess if I start at the tip of her hat and work down, perhaps it will be dry enough by the time I get there. Either that, or I guess I would just have to break out the old paper towel. In fact, I do think I am going to do a little bit of blotting already because it is super goopy down here. And it kind of gives a bit of a texture as well when you do that, especially because I didn't do it initially, so... So that's the speech bubbles I outlined in the fatter nib, the one I'm having issues with it. This is, for the rest, it's going to be this skinnier nib that I've done most of my outlining and lettering with. So, Well, let's see how long this takes and how much things dry in the meantime. That's for Ambrose. Ambrose owns the local dry cleaning shop, so he is, I guess, he's an entrepreneur, right? So I'm going to use my fist kind of as a maul stick, but still have my pinky down. I'm trying to remember what song. I kind of picked out Christmas songs for all the remaining reels, but now I don't remember what I picked for Margaret. I have it written down though, so. And there have been some changes along the way. For example, I think I said I was going to choose either a U2 song, like one of their Christmas songs, or All I Want, or that Mariah Carey "All I Want for Christmas Is You" song for Ruth, and that's I couldn't find the U2 ones listed on Instagram or Facebook, and then I listened to the "All I Want for Christmas Is You" and I made it like 5 seconds, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I think I ended up that one. I think I ended up going with Ella Fitzgerald's "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," so I think that one worked out pretty well. But I think the funniest one, I might have mentioned this before, but I think the funniest reel so far is Miles having a meltdown, and it's like Johnny Cash's "That Christmassy Feeling," like a happy song about goodwill toward man and happy Christmas memories, and there's Miles losing his shit at barista. So that was a kind of funny. That's the thing, like because of the style of work I'm doing, there's ones where, I could pick a favorite carol that I have, but going like, it wouldn't be appropriate to put that in because, like as an example, I quite like "O Come Divine Messiah," but I can't think of any of the cartoons I have planned where that would be appropriate and not read as like really like out of line with what they're up to. So, oh well. We'll see what I do next year for Vlogmas. And then for Ricky's girlfriend Baby, I ended up going with Santa Baby, but the Eartha Kitt version. It's funny. Every version I've heard of that song, other than that one, I absolutely frickin' hate it. So I was originally like, I'm not using that. Like, even though it seemed like a really good pick for Baby, in terms of like her being very demanding and all that, I was still originally going like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do Send It Baby. I hate that song. And then I heard the clip from Eartha Kitt, and I was like, okay, no, Eartha's the only version of that song that's good. And I think part of it is Eartha had a kind of hard to describe it, kind of like an ingenue voice, like sounding kind of young, but not like, but she didn't sound like a kid, and she didn't sound like a brat. It was just she kind of had this lightness and all that to it. And then I think people kind of take almost like when they were going to do their version, they wanted to make it like a nasal, like a child, like, or like a bratty woman, where you just want to, like, I've heard some versions of Santa Baby where I've wanted to like punch whoever the singer is. It's like, you sound so freaking annoying and insufferable. And I think it's because they're trying to capture like well, like Eartha's version is more kind of playful and all that, and it's flirty and sultry, but it's higher in a higher key and all that. And I think most people just don't know how, if that's not their natural voice, and obviously it isn't because it's Eartha's, then the way to try and fake it is doing it, Santa Baby, da, 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 you know, but it ends up then becoming irritating because it sounds like a bratty kid. So yeah, vast majority of versions of that song fail. Well, all versions of that song fail except for the Eartha Kitt original. So that's my opinion. One thing I can tell you will not be on any of the cartoons is I 100% hate all versions of Little Drummer Boy. It's irritating as all get up. I've never heard a good version of it that didn't suck. I even hate instrumental versions of it because it's so hard to divorce that from how insipid and annoying the lyrics are. So there will not be any Little Drummer Boy, you know, music on any of the reels. So we got the lettering done. I'll just start with her hat. And again, kind of using my left fist to prop up my hand. This is going to end up being a relatively short one, similar to, well, Agnes Burgoyne ended up being a relatively short, like 39 minutes, something like that. This will probably be roughly similar in length. Yeah, we are rolling along quite quickly here. Here we go. What else can we say about Margaret as we're wrapping up? Well, her favorite band in the whole world is called Irish Cheese. You can draw your own conclusions about that. She has a thing for their lead singer, Puggo. We'll hear about this eventually in a future Ricky podcast. Which is to say, it's a short story I already wrote, and probably won't become a podcast until I think I have it planned kind of more for like June, somewhere around there. Probably drawing that a little off for how the belt is knotted, but oh well. Anyways, I guess Ambrose doesn't mind, because he doesn't consider the whole Puggo to be an actual threat to his prominence. I don't think he considers Papa Rat ever coming back to be a threat either. But, you know, Papa Rat's probably moved on himself. So, I think we got that, right? Let's take another look. Is there anything else I need? No! We are done quick. Although, by the time I actually zoom in and do a quick detailed shot, it's not going to be as... well, it might be as short as the Agnes video. We'll see, but... There we go. Put the cap on my ink. And time to sign it. Yeah, I think the obvious place to do that is right here, and oops, in this little gap. Turn off the phone, and let's move the camera so, because I know right now it's a parallelogram, not a dead on, because otherwise it would block my access into actually draw. Move my chair out of the way so I can move the tripod. And there we go. So, usual thing, that's way too zoomed in. There we go. If I zoom in too much, it's, you know, it becomes undetailed again. So, Richard, I'm going to bingo with Ambrose. Have all the Christmas lights up by the time I get back. I bet that's not what Ricky was planning on doing with his day off, his Sunday. And make sure there's mistletoe by the front door. Alright. So, there you have it. Hope you've enjoyed today's little drawing. And we will be back at it tomorrow for Noah Thorson's father-in-law, Frank. That's it for today. Bye for now.